Hi guys, it's Teresa. Welcome back to my channel. Basically, in this video, I want to read Booktubers' favorite books of 2019. Now, I know that last year there was a phase where like everybody was reading each other's favorites just in general, and this kind of plays off of that idea, obviously, but reading other Booktubers' favorite books of any given year is really something I do almost every year. Like, the end of your favorites videos always inspire a huge like book buying phase for me, where I just want to buy and read everything that other people loved. So I kind of want to take something that I already was gonna do anyway and make it into a video and see how I would feel about it as a whole. I do want to have some kind of system to me doing this, so I decided to pick 5 booktubers. These are the people that I usually gravitate towards when I look for videos, booktube videos or book recommendations, and basically watch their favorites videos and pick 2 books from each booktuber that I want to read in the month of January. So basically how this video will go is, at first, right now, I'll tell you the books I'm planning to read, and then for the rest of the month or however long, I'll kind of vlog my reading experience of these books, and at the end of the video we'll see if I agree with the favorites, I guess. By the way, if you're curious to see my personal favorites of the year 2019, I'll link it in the description and in the cards. So the first person I picked, I tend to watch like all her videos, and we have very similar reading tastes, I think, and kind of enjoy similar things, and that is Murphy Napier. And from her video I picked On Luna Time. This book is, as far as I can tell, a time travel romance, and I kind of seem to have missed Murphy talking about this book throughout the year, so I was really surprised to see it in her favorites. I'd never heard of it before, and I thought, like, you know what, I should give this a go. And then the second book I'm picking from her pile is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This book reminded me really of Wilder Girls by Rory Power, which I quite enjoyed last month, and I just really was interested to read this. It's about this group of like teenage boys that go camping in the Canadian wilderness, and then they encounter like a horrible, strange, disfigured person that has like been bioengineered, and it's like really strange. It sounds, I think she said that it has like a lot of body horror in it, which I really enjoy for some reason. Like, I'm really morbid like that, and I really enjoy that. So I think I'm perfectly set up to enjoy both of these books. I can't wait to get started. The next person I went to for recommendations was Books with Emily Fox. She is also another person that I gravitate towards a lot for book recommendations. She's someone I go to specifically for sci-fi recommendations because that's the genre she mainly reads, and so I picked 2 sci-fi books from her pile. The first is Recursion by Blake Crouch. This book follows, I think, a society where people have like false memories. So basically they could lead like completely, what they think are completely normal lives, and then wake up one day and realize what they like remembered vividly to be their life isn't actually their life. And I don't know much more than that, but it sounds creepy and fascinating and really cool. And the second book I'm gonna read from Emily's pile is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. We all know what this is about. I've been kind of hesitant to pick it up just because at the beginning I didn't think it sounded like something that I would enjoy, but since then so many people have told me how amazing it is. I've yet to hear a single negative thing about it, and Emily really loved it, so I have to try it. The next person I'm going with is Books and Lala. I have loved her videos for a very long time. I do find that I don't always agree with her on certain books. Like, sometimes we agree 100%, other times it's kind of hit or miss for me, at least. So we have some overlapping taste at least, and I thought I'd just give it a go. The first book I picked from her is Bunny by Mona Awad, which honestly is probably the book on this whole list that I'm least sure about, just because it sounds really weird, and sometimes I like weird and sometimes I really don't. Like, if I find a book doesn't have a point in its weirdness, then I probably won't enjoy it. So this is really a wild card. I don't know how I'll feel about it, honestly. And the second book I picked is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I've been meaning to give Riley Sager another chance after hating The Last Time I Lied, so I thought this was the perfect opportunity. I've seen this book pop up on other people's favorites lists as well, so I think maybe this is gonna be better. Second to last, I have Riley Marie, and from her pile I picked first If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I've already bought this book last month because I wanted to read it, also kind of based on Books and Lala's recommendation, but then I saw it in her video and there was another book in there that I wanted to read for this challenge, so I thought, you know what, I'll just pick this one because I already own it and I'm already really interested in reading it. And then the second book I wanted to read from her pile was Rules for Vanishing. This is the first time I've heard of this book, but it sounded really interesting. It's apparently about this road that these people have to travel down, but the road kind of like has a lot of twists and turns and it doesn't want them to reach the finish line or something like that. I don't know much more about it than that, but when she described it in her video, it sounded really interesting and I was like, okay, I haven't heard of this before, but it definitely sounds like something that I could enjoy a lot. And then lastly, I have Kat's book day, and from her list, I firstly picked Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, another book I already own, and I actually already have read about 130 pages of it, but I realized at the time of reading this that it wasn't the right time for me to be reading it, so I kind of temporarily DNF'd it, but I'm ready to pick it back up, especially since she gave it such a glorious review, and I did enjoy the base story, so I just need to actually finish it, and I think this challenge is the perfect time to do so. And then the second book from her pile was Girls with Sharp Sticks by Susan Young. It was actually another kind of funny coincidence because this is another book that I had already planned to read soon because one of you guys recommended it in my comment section, I think a few weeks ago. And so I already had it in like my cart to order with my book vouchers, and then she recommended it in the video and I was like, oh, that's perfect. Now I can also put this in the video. So this is the last book I'm going to be reading for the challenge. This book is set at the school where people are really like good students and like obey without question, and then there's a new student, I think, and like she figures out that this isn't quite right, and I don't even know more than that, but it sounds really creepy and I'm very excited to read this. And that's it for all the 10 books I'm going to be reading for this challenge. Without further ado, let's get into the actual meat of the video. Hi, so it's literally minutes after I finished filming and I put on a bathrobe and grabbing some coffee because I want to get started on this challenge. I'm so excited. It's not actually a challenge. I don't know why I keep calling it that, but I'm very excited to be doing this video. Just very hyped. Theoretically, I'm still reading The Radium Girls, but I can't wait. So I decided to immediately start with Recursion by Blake Crouch. I'm so excited. I'm kind of apprehensive about not being allowed to share about the book on social media until this video is up. I mean, I could do it, but you know, that's not the point of a secret TBR. It's supposed to keep it secret. So I'm nervous. I hope I don't slip up, make a mistake. So I'm currently about 50 pages into Recursion and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's very gripping and I definitely am hooked on the mystery. Like, I want to know what's going on so badly. The only thing is I can't turn off my brain because I keep questioning things. Like, the book hinges so much on the idea of memories, and obviously that's the whole thing that it's about, like people losing their memories or having false memories. I just don't agree, I guess, with this idea that memories, because this one character is currently like recalling the same memory over and over again because they want to trace the patterns of it in her brain, and I just don't believe that you could recall one specific instance in your life, even if it was very, very memorable and meaningful to you, over and over and over and over again in exactly the same way, or that you would even be able to pinpoint what about it you remember. Like, she's so specific on like the sound of the water and the smell of the leaves, and I'm like, that's not, I mean, maybe I'm weird. I know I have a bad memory. I have a very sporadic memory and a very bad memory. But that's not how I remember anything. Like, I don't remember sounds. I don't remember smells specifically. I just remember kind of emotions, mostly like an emotion attached to a memory, or like almost like a screenshot of the moment. And it's impossible to tell how much of that I created like retrospectively and how much of that actually happened. And I think especially when you recall the same memory, every time it changes a bit because you add something to it or you remove something. Like, it's just not that simple and it kind of bothers me a bit. I know I'm overthinking it and I should just let it go, but this was the same thing with Dark Matter. Like, I couldn't stop just questioning everything and it drove me crazy. Part of the reason I only gave that book 3 stars, because I was like, this doesn't make sense. Turn off the brain. Turn it off now. I'm halfway through Recursion, and can I just say that I forgot how like much mindfuckery is in his books. I feel the same way reading all of his books, and that's questioning reality, being completely drawn into this like vortex of confusion and like trying to piece everything together as quickly as this information is thrown at me, but being unable to do it, and then just frustrated and like actually like feeling uncomfortable because it's just, oh my god, it's just so messed up. And this is exactly how I feel reading this book. Like, he's a master at crafting books that just fuck with your head. Good morning, it's the next day, and I finished Recursion. No, that's the wrong book. It's the next morning, and I finished Recursion. Here's what I think about this book. The book is split up in 5 parts, and I really enjoyed the first 2, because it was all very personal, very much like the micro perspective of everything. And then the last 3 parts are very much the macro, and I found that I didn't care as much about that. Especially the last 100 pages dragged so badly. I don't understand why this decision was made. It's basically the same thing over and over and over again. I know it was supposed to have a lot of stakes, but it didn't feel like it did, because you just kind of knew that how it was gonna end. So you just kind of like were sitting there waiting for it instead of appreciating the journey. At least that's how I felt. And I just didn't think it was necessary. I honestly, about halfway through the book, there's like climax, and I thought that was gonna be the ending, so I was really confused when the book continued, because it was like, this is leading up to be the conclusion, and now there's more, and I don't really get why. So I like this book as an idea. I like this book in its setup. I think it was creepy, it was mindfuckery 100%, and it definitely left me very confused about so many things. I wish I would have stuck with that. I wish it hadn't gone off into this other direction at the halfway point. So I'm giving it like a 3-star. I know it's a non-popular opinion. Same with Dark Matter. I'm like very critical of his books apparently. Like, I just don't fully love them. I love the Wayward Pines trilogy, 100% recommend that. Next, I'm picking up On Luna Time by, I don't know the name, but this is on Kindle Unlimited, so I can read it right away. It's only 200 pages long, and I hope I can read it all today. And then I also kind of want to start on Skyward. I actually wanted to read like the books by one person, like right back to back, but I might do On Luna Time because it's on my phone, right, on ebook, so I'm gonna do that parallel to Skyward. Hi, I took a bath. As you can see, I put on a face mask. In the bath, I continued to read Skyward, and I love it so much. I'm on page 220. I don't want to ever stop reading this book. I absolutely adore it. I think Mbot and Kimmelin, I think that's her name, are my favorite characters. Mbot is essentially what Aiden should have been and tried to be, but distinctly failed at being. I'm talking about Aiden from Illuminate, if you didn't know. I love everything about this book. I love the characters, I love the story. I'm so excited to finally have picked up this book. I'm very excited that I'm enjoying it, because that's the point of this video. I want to start off the year on a positive note. That's why I'm reading favorites. Good morning, it's Sunday, day 3 of this challenge, and I just finished Skyward. It's like 10 a.m. I think. I stayed up very late last night until like 2, and then I had 80 pages left, and I was like, should I push through and just finish it for, you know, irrational completionist reasons, or should I try to get some sleep and then read this when I like can fully appreciate it? And that's what I decided to do. So I finished it just now, and holy shit, what, how, why did I ever think that I wasn't gonna like this book? Like, I was crazy. I absolutely adored this. I'm giving this 5 stars already. One of the best books I read in 2020. I can tell, like, this will make an appearance on the list. I really like the character development on the main character's part, because she starts off as like this really defensive, overly arrogant and confident person, which is basically just a defense mechanism, and then she has a point throughout the book where she like falters and like questions her own bravado and like and kind of faces her insecurities, and then she comes out on top and is like, I should just accept myself, and like, I know I'm a good person, I know I'm brave, I don't have to question it all the time. Like, oh, I love that. I miss this feeling, you know. I read a lot of books, but only like, I don't know, 1% of them elicit this kind of reaction, and that's, oh, I love it. It's definitely worth wading through all the mediocrity to get to this 1%. I'm not really sure what to go with next. As I said, I did want to kind of read one booktuber's recommendation back to back. But the thing is, I don't have all the books physically yet, and I don't like to read too much on my phone. So I think what I'm gonna do for, well, I'm still gonna try when I'm on my phone to read On Luna Time from Murphy, because I think The Troop I also have on ebook, so I need to read both her books on ebook. And for my physical one, I'm picking up If We Were Villains by ML Rio. Hey guys, so it's like 6:30 on Sunday. We're about to go actually finally watch Star Wars with our friends in cinema. So this is kind of the end of my reading day, more or less. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna be able to read after we get back, because I have no idea when we get back. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on If We Were Villains. I did some stuff for uni today. I edited a video and I read like 150 pages of this book, and I like it. I'm just like not 100% feeling it. Like, the main issue I have is that it feels like you really need to suspend your disbelief to quite an extent to actually buy into what's going on. Because basically it's just about this group of friends that like start to become enemies. It says on the front, so that's not a spoiler. It's when friends become enemies, there's no limit to the damage they can do. And I just don't buy this transition that's happening right now. I don't think this is at all realistic. I don't think that's what would happen in real life. I don't believe that people who've been friends, close friends, for like 3 years would act this way. And so violently, like, I'm just confused. I just don't buy it. And I don't know how the book is gonna continue. I'm definitely invested, but also questioning it. And another thing, well, maybe I'm the only one here, but like, I just struggle to understand the Shakespeare quotes in this. Like, I've only ever read, what have I read? As You Like It by Shakespeare. That wasn't so bad. And I think when you read like longer pieces, you kind of get more accustomed to it, but they keep the characters like quote Shakespeare all the time, and every single time I have to read their lines like 5 to 6 times before I actually understand what they're kind of trying to say. I don't know, if you had like more of a complete and full comprehensive understanding of Shakespeare and you were like really into Shakespeare, you probably appreciate this more. It kind of takes me out of the story. Like, I need a minute to like be like, okay, what they're saying, what are they talking about? That's a little bit annoying. I just finished If We Were Villains, and I hate to say it, but I don't get the hype. I did love this. Ugh. I just want to preface this by saying that I understand that I think the book is trying to like imitate a Shakespearean tragedy. At least I assume it is, because it's trying to be really clever. And so in order for that to be a thing, it does a lot of, how do I say it? A lot of decisions are made to make it like extra tragic, like people causing themselves harm inadvertently and just generally making stupid decisions. My first issue with this book is that I really didn't ever want to read it. Like, I finished it in a day and a half or something, but I didn't want to read it. Like, I didn't really feel invested in much of anything. It's supposed to be a thriller, but I honestly predicted the ending like halfway through the book. I was like, oh, it's probably this person, and then it was this person, and it's just like the issues they have stem from this book being marketed as something else than it is. Because it also says on here, when friends become enemies, there's no limit to the damage they can do. It's not really friends becoming enemies. It's like a group of friends, one of them loses his mind, and then that's it. Like, it's not like them turning on each other, right? So that's kind of was my expectation going into it. I felt very much like on the sidelines watching a train wreck and like being very much aware of what's gonna happen next. And then exactly that happened, and I was just like, huh, I guess that happened now. Actually, I'm gonna talk about spoilers for a bit because I just wanna share those thoughts. So I'll put a timestamp here. If you don't want to be spoiled for this book, jump to this time right here in the video. This entire book would not have happened if the characters had made smarter decisions. And I know, I guess it's probably part of the intention, but like, it's frustrating to read. Like, it's so frustrating. First of all, again, false marketing, because it says it's talking about a murder. There is no murder. Like, Richard wasn't murdered. First, he was, you know, attacked in self-defense, and then they neglected to save him. So yes, I mean, I guess it's not great what they did, but he wasn't like murdered. Essentially, this entire book could have been avoided if the characters had at any point in the book alerted authorities or even their own teachers to what Richard was doing. He was an abusive asshole, and at first the book is kind of trying to make you believe that he kind of flips the switch. Like, they're friends with him for 3 years, and Meredith is in a relationship with him for like years, and he's totally fine. And then just because he didn't get the role that he wanted, he flips the switch and he becomes this raging asshole. And I just don't buy it. It kind of hints at Meredith having been like abused by him for longer. But still, I don't understand why no one ever like alerted the teachers. I understand if you're in an abusive relationship, like I'm just talking about Meredith here. If this is a pattern, I understand, like, you know, there's a lot of psychological stuff going on as well. So her not telling anybody sooner kind of makes sense. But as soon as he starts being this way to everyone and like doing it in public in front of their teachers, hitting people, everyone having like bruises, like that is the point where I 100% would have expected real people to tell anyone. Like, they're adults themselves, right? They should have a little bit more brain and like just tell someone. He should have been kicked out of school. He would have been kicked out of school if they told the teachers, because apparently they're really strict. So like, it was the act, like basically they had no choice but to kill him because he was out of control. Well, they should have just told someone, like anyone, literally anyone. And then of course it was James who did it. Like, of course, we all knew. Like, it was so obvious. And it was also so obvious when Oliver like took the fall for him that this was not gonna be a good thing for James. I know he says at a point in the book that like, yeah, this martyrdom wasn't selfless, and no, it wasn't. It was 100% him just wanting to be a martyr, like an idiot. When it was really harmful to James. Like, James probably would have psychologically benefited from making amends, at least in the form of serving time. And honestly, I promise you, if he immediately after the incident had gone to the authorities and been like, this man has been harassing everyone for months, we've all suffered, he's a huge bully, he was threatening me, he was taunting me, not giving me another choice, I was afraid for my life because he almost tried to drown me at one point, so I killed him in self-defense. Like, I don't even think he would have gone prison time. Like, I don't know how the justice system works, but I'm pretty sure he definitely wouldn't have had to serve 10 years. So like, this entire thing is so dumb. Like, everyone is so dumb, and you expect me to care about them? I'm sorry, I don't. I'm so over artist characters who feel like they're too good for mediocrity or like moderation, you know, like they feel everything so dramatically that they can't make rational decisions and that they can't think for themselves, and they're just, oh, I hate it. I'm getting worked up, but like, I'm so mad. Maybe that's the point of the book. I don't freaking care. I still don't think it's a good book. Like, I'm giving it like 2 stars. 1 star is for the writing, because I genuinely think it's well written and I can definitely appreciate the author's knowledge of Shakespeare. that she demonstrated in the writing of this book. Yes, you're a good writer. I'm not sure you're a good storyteller. Like, I don't like the story. Hello, I'm back. Yes, I'm wearing the same clothes as yesterday. Don't judge me. I haven't had to go anywhere yet, so hi. But I'm currently reading on Luna Time. The writing is really clumsy, which I get is like self-published, so you don't have much of an editor usually. And I think it's so cool because it shows up that, like, you know, when you buy or like you read something from Kindle on your phone, it'll show you who the Audible like narrator is and that you can download it. It says Murphy Napier. I think that's so cool. So cool. I didn't even realize that she was the one that narrated this audiobook. Maybe it's gonna get better. I don't want to judge it prematurely, but so far I'm not feeling it. I'd much rather read Starsight, which arrived today. I just have to not do that. I have to focus. So I read 10 more pages and I think I'm gonna DNF it. I'm sorry. Obviously, this is nothing against Murphy. I'm glad she liked it. I can't do books that like are so sloppily edited, and I just don't care either. Like, I'm 50 pages through, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a quarter of the whole book because it's only 200 pages, and I just don't care. I'd much rather read something else before I completely put myself in a reading slump over this. I don't want to say it, but unfortunately, I'm also DNFing the troop. Sorry, Murphy, this has nothing to do with you. I love you as a person. You know, we have very similar reading taste a lot of the times, but apparently this time it didn't work. I read 56% of this book, and while reading, I actually was quite enjoying it. It's very graphic and gruesome, and it's definitely well written. Like, I thought that the author has a good way with language and with words. He did a good job telling the story. But, you know, we all have a line somewhere. And I have just discovered that for me that line is torturing animals while masturbating. I genuinely think I have a pretty tough stomach, and I'm not usually very queasy or, you know, I have read a lot of things that haven't made me feel like I couldn't continue, but this I think is it. I don't know, I'm learning things about myself here, okay? I'm learning things about myself. I thought I could take anything, apparently I can't. So I didn't want to read that scene. I know it's just one scene, I don't care. I don't want to keep reading this. I'm sorry, I thought I could, but I can't handle it, okay? My next read is going to be Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I am very apprehensive but also excited going into this. I think this is a lot of people's favorite books by Riley Sager, and I'm excited to give him another chance. Hi, I just finished filming some videos and I thought I'd update you on my reading progress. I am 150 or so pages into Lock Every Door. It's definitely a very quick read, and I am enjoying it. I just think the main character is making some very dumb decisions, which honestly doesn't surprise me because the main character in The Last Time I Lied was also really stupid. But like, she's just making such stupid, like she's doing such stupid things. She's really suspicious, and yet she doesn't at all try to like cover her tracks or consider people might be watching her. Also, she calls 911 to report a missing person. I don't know about the US, but I don't think that you're supposed to call 911 unless it's an emergency that needs like immediate action, like right now. Like if you being attacked, if there's a fire, I don't know, something that needs immediate action. Like, of course, missing person is a bad thing, needs police attention, but like just call the normal police line. You don't need to call 911 for that. Like, she's so dumb. She's so dumb. Maybe I'm dumb and that's like a common thing, but I don't think you're supposed to do that. So anyway. Good morning. It's the next day. I'm on page 240 and I wanted to add my theory on what's happening. I mentioned this in a little clip last night, but I think I'm gonna just cut that out and like tell you my whole theory because it hasn't changed much, but it just evolved a bit. These aren't like full-on spoilers because I don't know if they're true, But if you don't want to hear theories that could potentially be true and that I personally think are true, then you can skip to this timestamp to avoid them, I guess. Okay, here's my theory. So this is the part I already knew last night, about like 100 pages earlier. I think they're running an organ harvesting ring out of this house. I think that the famous people that live there have some sort of stake in that. They either like benefit from it, because there's a lot of old people, right? So I think that the old people just are like receiving the organs or the blood donations or something. Like they're receiving like body parts, essentially, to help them like live a longer life. I think Nick is the one, like the bad guy. I think Nick is, because he's a doctor, he's the one performing these operations. And I also think that these like flash forwards to the now time aren't like her being in like an unrelated hospital, but her actually like being in the facility of the evil guys, and she's gonna get her organs harvested. I know that sounds really macabre now that like I say it out loud, but like that's what I think happens. The reason I think this is like up to do with organ harvesting is because of this one girl that like 100 years ago or something that had her organs taken out, and it was mentioned like in such a throwaway way and like not touched on again, that I think it's that. Like I think the author was like, I have to put this in somewhere, but I don't want to make it obvious, so I think that's how he did it. It could also be ritualistic, because there's one person who's, but I think that that's like a red herring. I don't think it's ritualistic. No one like enjoys that type of thriller anymore. I think it's not ritualistic. I think it's just like straight up, you know, money. We can sell you organs. I'm kind of torn between wanting that to be true and wanting it to not be true, because I want the book to be good, but if I can't predict the plot twist or like the ending halfway through the book, that's boring. Did I say it? Of course I did. Of course I did. Of course I did. I finished the book. I hated it. I think a large portion of why is because I called everything like halfway through the book. I don't understand how this is supposed to be suspenseful or like not predictable, because holy hell, there was no other way that this was gonna go, and I was literally just finishing the book being like, okay, well, yeah, I guess so. Also, I took some notes. I'm thinking about doing a rant video, but honestly, I think I'm just gonna discuss them right here, because I don't have like enough content as a whole for a video. So again, if you want to not be spoiled for anything, then skip. There'll be another timestamp. Just as with the last time I lied, there's so many things in this book that I think don't make sense. Like real people with a brain that think for more than 2 seconds about something would not make these decisions, would not think this way. It doesn't make sense. First of all, when Ingrid disappears, our main character is like, well, maybe she got a job and left. I'm like, no one receives a job offer at 1 a.m. That's not how that works. And then you don't up and leave immediately. Like, she honestly goes with that theory for so long, and I'm like, that never happened, ever. Also, she's so stupid to keep texting Ingrid when she has to have had the suspicion, I mean, she didn't, but she should have, that maybe if something happened to her, which she clearly has been thinking about, if something happened to her, then someone else might be in possession of her phone. And lo and behold, someone else is in possession of her phone. And the whole reason she can't access the gun when she needs it is because she was stupid enough to text someone, I found the gun, what's up with it? Like, holy fuck. How stupid do you have to be? Like, I mean, just think about this for a second. You're in a dangerous situation, you don't know who to trust, you don't know what's going on, and yet you leave such an obvious trail, like by texting someone. The worst moment is when Ingrid is texting her back, and it's so obvious from the get-go that it couldn't be Ingrid, but like, she takes a minute to think about it and to figure it out, and then her method of like subtly finding out if it's actually Ingrid or not, because she like actually thinks to herself, I have to be careful here, I don't want to give myself away, I don't want to make it seem like I'm actually questioning the identity of the person I'm texting with. She asks what's my nickname? Like, out of the complete blue, it's so obviously like a past question. Like, there's absolutely no subtlety to that. There's no reason why in a normal conversation you'd ask that question to someone when you think that they are who they are. Like, it's so dumb. I can't stop saying that, but it's so dumb. Another thing, she accesses voicemails through the call logs. So she'll go through like the call logs on Erica's phone, and then first of all, somehow when she's with Dylan, she listens to all the voicemails that Dylan left, which is so stupid. And by doing that, she wastes a lot of time and then doesn't get to the one that Ingrid left. And I'm like, how? Why? Why would you, first of all, why would you listen to the voicemails that the person left that's sitting next to you? You're supposedly on the same side, so why would you listen to his voicemails? I'm sure it's awkward for him, especially because he's like crying on the phone and stuff, like, where are you? And I mean, like, it's so weird to listen to his voicemails. And then she just like misses the one from Ingrid, which is like the most important, and she only finds it later. It's so dumb. But she also accesses voicemails through the call log. I don't think that's how voicemails work. Like, you call a number, that's your voicemail server or whatever. I don't know how that works, but I'm pretty sure you just call this like number and it's like your voicemail box, right? It's not something that you like click on in a call log to get to. It's so weird. It's so weird. But honestly, the most frustrating thing is that there were so many obvious clues from the get-go, or like obvious places to look, that Jules never looked at before it became sort of convenient for the plot. Like, for example, the dumbwaiter. Like, that's the first idea I had. Like, okay, I've been communicating with this girl, like, she's missing, maybe she left me a note. No, Jules wastes like a day doing other stuff before she thinks of this, or even like checking the apartment, or even checking the heating vent. Like, all of these things you would think are kind of the first places you'd look, but obviously, like, she can't look at them all at the same time because these are the only places that there are any clues, so the book would be over immediately. But also, her not looking in those places makes no fucking sense, because there's the first places that any sane person would look. And like, oh my god, this book is so frustrating. Like, I'm sorry, I'm glad if you enjoyed it. I'm so frustrated by Riley Sager, like, just not thinking about what's realistic, and like not at all trying to create a story that could actually happen. Like, I'm so sorry. He's not a bad writer on like a language level, but like, I don't understand why he refuses to write realistic stories. It's so absurd to me. I'm not trying to be mean to anyone. If you like this, more power to you. I'm very happy for you, because I wanted to like it. I wanted to give him another chance, but I can't. I can't suspend my disbelief and disbelieving everything. And also, it's super predictable. So that was a dud, unfortunately. I'm not sure if I'm giving this 1 or 2 stars. If I were to give it 2 stars, the 1 star would be for, the 1 extra star would be for the writing, because it's not bad writing, it's just like everything else that sucks. So unfortunately, another failure. I'm so frustrated. I wanted this video to be like super happy and positive and like me finding new favorite books, but somehow it's not happening, and I'm really sad about it. I need a break. It's the next day. I'm finally wearing a different jumper. I know, shocker. But I did take a little bit of a break yesterday after reading Lock Every Door. I basically just spent the evening watching Spinning Out on Netflix, which is a show about figure skating, and I love it. It's really good. January Jones is a revelation. She's the most beautiful person on the planet. But anyway, I'm now reading Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I said before, I was already like 130 pages into this when I DNF'd it temporarily. I'm currently on page 206, so I've read like 76 pages since then. And I like it. I like it more than the last time I tried to read it. I think reason 1 is because it's winter time. It's not actually like winter in Vienna, it feels like. It hasn't snowed, I think, once. And I also think it just suits my reading taste better. Plus, since the book is so slow, it's only now kind of getting more to the action, or like what the book is really about, I feel like, because it had like a very, very, very slow start. And that is kind of just like more fun to read, I guess. I find it so confusing that there's 3 separate stories basically being told in this one book. I don't know why that decision was made. I like them all individually, but like every time I kind of just want to stick with it, and then it just jumps to the next. I'm like, but I wanted to know more. It's good, it's well written. I like Naomi Novik's writing. I just think it's super slow and not necessarily ideally structured. So it would appear that I have a pattern of starting books around noon one day, reading all that day, and then just stopping shy of actually finishing the book and then finish it the next morning. That's what I've been doing for this entire video, and it happened again. It is like 10 a.m. I finished Spinning Silver. I had like, I don't even know, like 80 pages left. Again, it's always the 80 pages. I don't know what to say. There's a logical rating for this book for me, and then there's an emotional one and like a feeling rating. I love Naomi Novik's writing, guys. She's such a beautiful author. Like, she can tell such magical fairy tale stories that make me forget about everything else that I usually like care about in a book. Like, I don't care if the world building isn't ideal. I don't care if you have like 1,000 POVs and make me wait for all the interesting parts. Her magical writing and these like stories and places and people she creates that are so vivid and so just engrossing. Like, I didn't want to stop reading this even though it's quite long. I also have to take into account that I didn't actually read the first 130 pages of this like this time around, so it was really slow when I read it, and I know that it's like a really slow start. So I think I'm giving like a 3.5. I had moments yesterday where I was like, this is a 5-star, and it could have been. I loved it. I really loved it. Even I'm giving only 3.5 stars because I have to merge the logic with the emotion at least a little bit, but wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Hi, so I realize I'm always filming in this position, but this is my reading spot, so this is what you get. It's Monday night, and I just picked up and started Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. I'm currently on page 60. I know I didn't really explain the plot at the beginning of this video because I didn't know it, but now I kind of do, so I want to kind of catch up on that. Basically, this book follows this young girl called Sarah. She's a teenager in high school, and her sister Becca disappeared a year ago after being obsessed with the but with this like ghost story of Lucy Gallows, who was this girl in the 1950s who disappeared apparently after following this mysterious road into the woods. Now Sarah suspects that the same happened to Becca, and since her disappearance she's been really obsessed with the story and is trying to basically find out if she can somehow track her down. And at the beginning of this book, everybody at school gets a text message saying that the game has started and they should find a partner and the key and find the road and sort of play this game. And apparently it's just about this road. They have to find the road and then travel down it. There's like 7 gates or something that they have to pass. And when they reach the end, if they reach the end, they like get a prize or something like that. I don't know that much about it, but so far it sounds really intriguing and kind of spooky, and I'm really enjoying it. Hi friends, it's been a minute since I vlogged. I'm not feeling too great right now. My boyfriend got sick and now I'm sick, and it's not a fun time. But I did just finish Rules for Vanishing. It took me about 2 days. This was an interesting one. I really did enjoy it. I think it had a really strong start specifically because there was a lot of mystery and suspense, and I really didn't know what was going on for a long time. But I think at some point it kind of hit a little bit of a formulaicness, and it stopped being like super groundbreaking in the little things. Like, it stopped trying to mislead you as much. Maybe that's, you know, just me, but I felt like I could tell a lot more clearly what was happening than at the beginning. And overall, I think it's a well-written book. I think it's a fun story. I just don't think it went far enough for me personally. This is definitely one of those books where I feel like it would have been better if it had been an adult book, because as an adult book it could have gone further and done more extreme things kind of with this premise. But I think it's still a good book. I'd still recommend it, but it's not a new favorite, I would say. So it's about a 3-star. I am still really glad that I picked it up because I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for this video, and I enjoyed it. My next read is going to be Bunny by Mona Awad or Awad. I'm not sure. I've heard it both ways. I'm interested to see where this goes. I know it's going to be really weird. Hopefully, I'm going to like it. So I'm about 70 pages into Bunny, and I actually really enjoy it. I think it's a little bit of a slower read, mainly because I have to read it really closely, because otherwise I don't get what's going on. It's written really in like almost like a flowery style. I'm not actually sure how to describe it, but the author is like really like tongue-in-cheek satirical, and so if you don't pay attention, you don't really get what she's doing, and a lot of it is like really like quick and kind of, you know, rapid fire, so you definitely have to read it very closely. I do enjoy it for some reason. Like it's definitely weird. It's really weird, but I don't know, I kind of relate to the situation in a sense. The main character is like in grad school at like this really fancy writing program, and she doesn't really know where her life is going, and she feels kind of like an outsider because the other 4 girls in her workshop are like the bunnies. They're like this really tight-knit group of interesting women. They call each other bunnies, and so she's like kind of on the outside of that. And while she like disdains them, she's also drawn to them. I don't know, I just kind of relate to that, I guess. And yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested and intrigued to see where this goes, because I've heard that it gets even weirder. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to handle it as much, but so far I'm definitely enjoying it. Yeah, it's weird, but it's good. So I finished Bunny, and I have no words. This book is a fever dream. I don't know how to articulate how I feel. I just know that I fucking loved it. I loved every second of it. I don't understand why. I don't understand what I just read. I feel like this is one of those books that I could read like 5 more times and I'd still like catch on to new things. I just straight up don't know. I've never been this lost for words when it comes to reviewing a book. I don't know who to recommend this to. I don't know like what I loved about it. I don't know. I saw myself in this book, but also not, because it's so wacky that there's no way that you could like full on relate to it, but you still kind of relate to it, and it's fucking amazing. I loved it. I mean, what? I'm honestly blown away by how much I enjoyed this. This is a 5-star, hands down. Thank you, Kayla. I probably wouldn't have read this without you and without this video, but this is freaking phenomenal. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. This obviously also means that we're nearing the conclusion of this video, which is really hard to believe because it's been about 2 weeks since I started it, and I honestly thought I would take much longer to go through these books, but I've just been so in the mood to read that I was very quick. But I'm already on my final book, which is Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. This book came in yesterday, so it's perfect timing. I'm gonna read this over the weekend and then hopefully have this video up for you sometime next week. So I didn't actually get to reading much throughout the day, but I picked it up now at night, and I'm like, what am I on, like 70 pages? 65, okay, 65 pages, and so far I like it. The only thing is I'm not really convinced that the book is like really leaning into its own premise enough, because the idea is basically this is this like prestigious academy for girls where they're being trained. It kind of reminds me of The Handmaid's Tale, like they're supposed to be really quiet and beautiful and well behaved and poised and not really share their opinions. So that's kind of the whole thing. Like they've been brought up all their lives with that as like the goal. The gold standard is like obedience, especially to men, and not talking back, not asking questions, that whole thing. And yet I feel like a lot of the characters, a lot of the girls actually do ask a lot of questions, and there's a lot of instances where they don't really behave how they should, and it doesn't really fit to me with this idea that they've basically been brainwashed all their lives into thinking that this is how they should behave. Like I feel like kind of more like in The Handmaid's Tale, like if you were brought up with this idea and this belief, then you would probably adhere to it, you know, more than the characters in the book do. Like they sometimes will just kind of like act like normal girls, and it doesn't really work for me. So I'm not sure if the book over time is gonna kind of commit to the premise more, or like decide what it wants to be more, because for now I feel like it's still a little conflicted on that point. Other than that, I like it. I like the idea behind it. I like the writing. I think I have some theories already as to what's going on exactly. And I think it's good. I think it's good so far. I just wish it had kind of been more, like committed more, as I said, to the premise. Also kind of with regards to some of the rules that are in place for the girls, and then they're still allowed to like kind of not follow them sometimes, but other times they're really, really strict and like 100% have to be followed. Like for example, they're all supposed to only like consume organic food and like essentially live extremely, extremely healthy, like no additives, no chemicals, like not even salt, much of salt. But the main character is kind of like a candy freak. So anytime she can, she will like buy some candy. But for some reason, that's not a problem. Even when the teachers find out, they'll just kind of roll their eyes at her like, oh, this is just another thing that like young women do. But then for other rules, they're so strict that to me that doesn't really add up. Like they either want complete obedience in all areas or they don't. But it seems like they make these arbitrary exceptions. Also, they're supposed to be brought up like with this strong sense of like doing the right thing kind of thing, like just behaving, obedient, whatever, as I said. But like some of the characters just randomly steal things at a gas station. I'm like, how does this add up? Like why would somebody who's been brought up all their life to be like obedient, like that's, you know, why would they steal a pack of gum at the gas station? Like I don't understand. Hi friends, so it appears that we have reached the end of this long and winding road throughout this vlog slash video, and I finally finished Girls with Sharp Sticks by Susan Young, the last book on my list for the video. I will say I'm kind of disappointed in this book. Well, I'm quite disappointed with this book. I ended up giving this about a 2-star. The things I said earlier about the book being kind of inconsistent within its own premise kind of kept persisting throughout the book and just got a lot worse in my opinion. There's a lot of different behaviors that the characters in the book exhibit that don't really add up to what we've been told about them. And then add to that I literally predicted not the ending, I guess like the plot twist, I think like 50 pages into the book, and that's just really frustrating. And it kind of made the book feel really, really slow throughout the rest of it. I honestly skim read the last like 150 pages because I just lost interest. Like I was just basically waiting for the characters to catch up to something that I was already pretty sure I knew. And it was really dull and boring. The book does try to like tackle misogyny as an issue. It kind of reads like an apocalyptic book. As I said, it reminded me of The Handmaid's Tale. But I'm just not really sure exactly what its purpose is of doing that. I didn't feel like this added anything new to the conversation or really was revelatory in any way, shape, or form. So unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy it, but I do see other people liking it a lot more since it is YA. Maybe if this is like the first time you as a young girl have like encountered this type of a story, maybe that could be good for you. I don't know. But for me, it just didn't really hit the mark. And that brings us to the end of this video. I had a really fun time reading these books and filming this for you guys. And I'm really glad I did it because even though I didn't enjoy everything I was reading, it was a fun experience and I totally see why other people would enjoy these books more. They just weren't my thing. And at the end of the day, I had 2 DNFs, unfortunately both by Murphy, on Luna Time and The Troop. Of the 2, I definitely enjoyed The Troop more, but I just couldn't keep going and I didn't want to force myself to either. I have no 1 stars, which is good, but then I have 3 2 stars, which I honestly wasn't expecting. The first of which is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, then also also Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young and If We Were Villains by Emil Rio. I also have three stars, which were Recursion by Blake Crouch, Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall, and Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, which is more of like a 3.5, and I really did enjoy this one. I also have no 4 stars, but 2 5 stars, and those are obviously the wonderful Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, as well as Bunny by Mona Awad. I had an absolute blast of a time reading both of these books, and I think especially Bunny, I probably would never have picked up if it weren't for this video. So this is like really the whole reason. Even if I just found 2 new favorite books, that's more than nothing, and I'm really happy that I did this video. But that concludes our time together for this video, for this little challenge. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Let me know if you want me to do something like this again in the future. And please don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts of the books that I talked about in the comments, but do be aware of like mentioning spoilers, so like mark them as spoilers so people don't get spoiled if they don't want to be. But that is it. Check out more videos on the screen right now, and I hope to see you soon. Have a lovely week. Bye.